Live. That's right, YouTube. There's been a Litecoin dusting attack. Now, if you don't know what that means, and maybe you've received a little bit of Litecoin in the last little while, as I have, I was quite confused to see all these random transactions come dinging up and notifying me from a bunch of different areas, actually. So I dove in, I started to look at all the blockchain explorers and noticing that I was not the only one that had been sent to this very specific of 0.000000546 Litecoin. So we started to dive in, and yes, we've seen it confirmed as now it says Binance here says approximately 5 hours ago, there's a large scale dusting attack on Litecoin users. So for those of you that don't know what a dusting attack is, as I did not just know up until about 15-20 minutes ago, is it's essentially, okay, so recently some of the regulations that have come out in the cryptocurrency space talks about how if you get sent Bitcoin from an address that's flagged, your account has now become flagged as well. So what these mixers are doing, because mixers are illegal to hide the transactions, they're essentially sending very small microtransactions to all of the tokens, all of the wallet addresses that have ever received like a Litecoin in this particular instance, but they're sending it from a particular mixer or an address that's been flagged or addresses that have been flagged. So essentially what it does is it attacks the network. So I'll read actually here from, I'll give you an exact description. It says, a dusting attack refers to a relatively new kind of malicious activity where hackers and scammers try to break the privacy of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, in this particular case, Litecoin, by sending small amounts of coins to personal wallets. The transactional activity of these wallets is tracked down by the attackers, who perform a combined analysis of several addresses as an attempt to identify the person or company behind each wallet. So what is a dust? In the language of cryptocurrencies, it refers to a tiny amount of tokens or coins, amount that is so small that most users wouldn't even notice. Taking Bitcoin as an example, essentially a satoshi. So when it comes to Bitcoin, there is no official definition for dust because each software implementation or client may assume a different threshold, as the Bitcoin core defines dust as any transaction outputs that is lower than the fees of that transaction, which leads to the concept of the dust limit. Hence why they're trying it on Litecoin as well, because of the cost. Technically speaking, the dust limit is calculated according to the size of inputs and outputs, which normally combines around 546 satoshis. So I'm currently reading from Binance's article here about dusting attacks. So dusting attacks is where scammers have recently realized that cryptocurrencies and their users do not necessarily pay attention to these tiny amounts showing up in their wallets, so they began dusting a large number of addresses by sending a few satoshis. After dusting multiple addresses, the next step is a dusting attack that involves combined analysis of those various addresses in an attempt, again, to validate who the user is. So the goal is to eventually to be able to link the dusted addresses and wallets to the respective companies or individuals. If successful, the attackers may use this knowledge against their targets, either through elaborate phishing attacks or cyber extortion threats. So dustings were usually initially performed by Bitcoin, but they're also happening on other currencies, again, in this particular case on the Litecoin chain. So this is fascinating to me, and it's new, and seeing as it just happened, and YouTube wants me to do more live stuff and create more content anyways, I figured that's what we would do. So again, I wanted to read through actually one of the other articles that I read earlier, which is around some of the other malicious aspects behind why they would do dusting attacks. And again, it could be to make it so that everybody's wallet is tainted. So tainted tokens is a whole nother topic that we haven't really gotten into because of the regulations around like SINFIN, or what is FinCEN, which is like our financial securities and regulations. Not securities, but the like let's see, for money laundering and stuff like this. So here we are, this one, let's see, who else can we look up about the dusting attacks? These guys are just calling it spam, but essentially what happens is you end up making some of these accounts flagged, right? And that would be a very bad thing for everybody. So if they got every account flagged, could they disrupt the regulatory setup that's in place for flagging accounts? Right? It's a really interesting question. Like from a legal perspective, how can you know unless you would, okay, well then now every address that's ever been sent this specific amount is flagged, but not flagged because it was sent a specific amount as in comparison with being sent a different amount of crypto. This is all, we're in uncharted territories for how some of this stuff works. And even though it's really smart to pay attention to the fact that these are attempts to hack, spam, or possibly extort individuals based off the wallet addresses. The important part to recognize is that because we're in such a new ball game, the research into this stuff is important. So just wanted to jump online, share everyone this type of stuff because it is a type of breaking news, and just remembering that YouTube wants me to produce way more content than I did the last week. Otherwise, it hurts it hurts the channel. I'm just gonna start going live and ranting and sharing stuff. So, anyways, that's a little bit about dusting. Leave your thoughts, your questions, any other relevant resources that you guys find. Be weary of anything related to your Litecoin wallet in the future. Do more due diligence and keep your eyes open as I guess news and ideas present themselves. We'll share that over the next few days as well. It's I mean, again, this is all new, so we don't really know where the end result is, but it's just a flag to be aware of. I think, if it's been sent to any of your exchange wallets, which Binance has, as far as I know, would have probably had all of their Litecoin wallets dusted, you'll probably see this deposit made into your account. Again, and that's just a recognition of what's taking place here, because we're in such uncharted territory. We don't know where it leads to, but there are a few different things that could mean. Anyways, again, some of you probably know better than I do what's actually taking place with some of this. So again, leave your thoughts, your comments, give us a thumbs up if you like this. I guess what we could do is, now that we've gone over it, we could just do let's answer some of your guys' thoughts and questions. Okay. You guys say never heard of it, and I've never heard of it either. Is Litecoin failing? It's not failing. A dusting attack, again, is mostly looking at the integrity of the wallets and possibly ways to obfuscate the legalities, and or from a spam and attack vector level, look at extorting specific wallets by or reverse engineering who those wallets belong to type of mentality. Someone says, this just happened to me. How do I prevent it? You cannot prevent it. Again, this is one of the abstractions in the new layers of technology that we have, is we're going to run into new types of, interesting layers of obfuscation is probably the best way to say it, because it's an attack vector that operates at a few different levels, and you can't stop it. Because you can't stop incoming wallet addresses. That's not a feature that currently exists on the protocol layer. Although we could write that stuff into second layer solutions wallets, it's not currently that way as well. So it's interesting. Litecoin has all of the Bitcoin devs. That is not true. If you want, join the Telegram channel in the links below. We have been sharing some information inside the Bear Den family about the Litecoin devs conversations, and they don't have a ton of devs right now. Charlie Lee says he's actually one of the only ones. Money transmission regulators. Again, yeah, the attack vector here that seems the most likely is from the mixer level or from the flagged account stuff, which is under the FinCEN regulations. And this is what my current hypothesis would be, not for extortion, but to see if you can actually obfuscate the entire legal structure that they've put in place for flagging accounts by sending tainted cryptocurrency from one address to every address that's known to date to have ever had any Litecoin in it. Very, very fascinating stuff. Again, not to say that extortion or spam or attack vectors are fascinating. It's just I never have thought about this until all of a sudden you get a really small microtransaction. You're like, wait a second, who just? It's something new in the crypto space. So very interesting. We'll keep all of the questions relevant to this particular topic so right now. Someone asks us, if I have a few Litecoin, do you think I'll be extorted or I won't be extorted? No, likelihood is you won't be extorted. Again, here the attack vector seems most likely that it has something to do with the FinCEN regulations in terms of mixers. And again, this is just my conjecture right out the gate. I'm sure as time progresses, we'll know more. But the original thoughts about dusting was that it was a way to possibly back engineer and extort people. Although for me, that seems like a less valuable attack vector. I think if you were a criminal and you were looking to ruin the regulations that have been currently put in place, could you just send tainted coins to everywhere and ruin every wallet? And then how could you it's a very difficult and a very interesting conversation. So if any of you have legal backgrounds in this particular sector, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. You can email us. You'll be pretty easy to find our emails. Someone says most dusters maybe just to confuse each other, the problem defeats itself. This one's very specific amount here as well. Again, the valuable attack vector, I think that it would be the most noticeable is from this regulatory standpoint. Let's see. Nice, cool. Okay, so I'll leave out with a few more comments that you guys are asking. So if someone says, could this dump the Litecoin price? It's unlikely because it doesn't actually attack the development layer, so everything's still safe. It's again, it's a very interesting line of concept. I think that one needs to go down to venture, but it doesn't really affect the Litecoin price. No, you wouldn't see it, not noticeably so. Not unless something goes wrong. We haven't seen anything go wrong. Cold storage wallet's still safe. Not from these particular attack vectors. Your wallet is still safe, yes. All your tokens are still safe, yes. But from a level of obfuscation, can they taint your account and make it now that you maybe fall under a regulatory act that could make your wallet unusable in the future? Or are they looking from the opposite perspective and say, well, then if you were just sent this and there's nothing you can do about it, could that set a precedent for a legal case to say that now, even though your account has been flagged, it's still not flagged? It's a very interesting concept. Again, it's difficult to say. So your cold storage wallet is safe. But the attack vector, I think that again is the most noticeable here. Doesn't actually really have to do with the coin safety. It has to do from a regulatory standpoint. Bunch of FUD. Yeah, people are going to come up with a bunch of FUD. So another quick question of what is dusting? So dusting is a layer of attack vector because you can send people tokens. You can send them. You could possibly reverse engineer their identity from the way that tokens are sent between addresses. They could see if anyone. Anyways, that's one way to do it. But I think the interesting layer here, because they've sent it to so many accounts and without any string code. So it used to look at it as spam. So if I sent you a Litecoin transaction and I had part of the blockchain in the information that actually left a comment basically like, oh, Arcane Bear, right? And all these people would see it, but hardly anyone looks at the blockchain explorer anyway. So it's a horrible way to spam people, even though it might be cheap. Again, the most interesting philosophical idea I can come up with is this particular attack vector on the regulation, or to try to ruin the entire blockchain by sending broken data through, not broken data, but tainted coins to tokens on every single wallet address known. So again, we don't know if it taints the wallet because we don't know where they're coming from yet. We don't know, but it's just an interesting attack vector to think about. So it's really important to kind of pay attention to this, some of this stuff, because the FinCEN regulators in the United States have recently come out and said that one of the ways that they can try to control it is to put certain addresses on a blacklist. And if you receive or any tokens from these tainted wallets, that you now become a tainted wallet address as well, and they can blacklist you from sending. It's a really abstract thing. So what I could see is the vector for why they would try to be doing it is if they hit every single Litecoin wallet known to mankind, could they wreck that law by making it setting a precedent that, well, now everyone has been flagged. So how do you anyways, it's really interesting to see. I'm reading through all your guys' comments as well, just so you know, but I'm only going to answer and focus on this particular topic because even though this is not an evergreen video, I would like to leave it so that anyone that's interested in the Litecoin and dusting in general as spamming can come through and hear some of these questions. So the amount of Litecoin in wallets doesn't determine the likelihood of dusting. It would seem that it would appear that any Litecoin wallet that's had maybe a Litecoin or a few, they would probably pick wallets that have had a certain amount. To do that, you have to do a lot of back testing on the blockchain to see which wallets those are and how much they've sent. And if there are wallets that contain a smaller amount than that, then there would be conjecture that they just hit every wallet. We don't actually know yet because I looked on just one chain and there was thousands and thousands of transactions. So you would have to do a lot of study. There, some of these bigger analytics companies are going to have a much easier time to figure that out. Is that a shofar behind you? No, it's not. I'll leave it out with that. It's okay. So all the exchanges were dusted, as far as I can tell. I don't really know. I guess at this point, this is all new data. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, we just wanted to do some up-to-date comments, bring our watch time back up into the channel, because again, we're just trying to, I know that again, it's crazy to see how much when YouTube hits us. Actually, if you guys want, we'll just do an Ask Me Anything for the end of the show. Yeah, we might as well. There's 80 of you guys online. If you want, give me a thumbs up and we'll do an Ask Me Anything for the next 20 minutes because YouTube loves it when we ramp up the watch time. And even though I don't like it when YouTube spanks the channel down, we'll do these long live streams to get the watch time back up in a short period of time, so it doesn't keep spanking the video down. So there was this a big investment in the operation? To do that, you'd have to go through and check out of all the microtransactions, but I would imagine they've spent at least a few $1,000s. Are they dusting stolen LTC? That is, I'm unaware of those particular data points at this moment. Again, we don't know where the source originated from. When you see thousands of transactions being sent out like this, it's likely coming from some type of mixer. So if they're able to mix a mixed address, we don't know. Again, the level of obfuscation here could be looking from a very criminal standpoint to one degree or another, or if not criminal, at least from some type of legal obfuscation, and that comes off as very criminal. So it's really interesting. A really interesting time, I mean, to see as the news develops here. I don't yet know, but I figured I should let everyone know to be aware of any 0.0000546 amounts of Litecoin coming into your wallet address, to know what it is, and to be aware of that, just in case it comes on anywhere else. Come over to Twitch. I've actually do live streams on Twitch, but they never save my videos because it's only live streams. So I have been trying that out, and on D Live as well. We also post to Facebook Live groups. It depends. We're getting into doing that more as time goes on. So I thank you for inviting us over to Twitch. We will try that out more and maybe even figure out how we can save our videos there. BitSource AML says, do you think blockchain analytics companies are hoes now? I think, again, a part of this is just going to become some of the legal regulation and the obstacles that the regulators are going to have to come to terms with as time goes. Bill Hester says, thank you. I know about dusting. Yeah, me either. Literally, we're all learning together, like right as it happens. So super fantastic. Could this be a good thing? It's a good thing in it reveals an area of attack that we didn't necessarily pay that much attention to. Like, I had never really thought of this until now, and you know, I think actually that's not entirely true. For those of you that are fans of Cliff High, we did see some of this data about being spammed with a shit ton of really cheap transactions, but to look at it not as a spam or as a hack layer, but actually from a vector from criminality or from legality is, I think, a significantly more valuable area of to come from. So I'm not sure where it's coming from or who's doing it, but it definitely makes you think, and it's really, really interesting. What is the purpose of dusting? So far, it seems like there's three main areas, which is a spam area to like send a mass message to hundreds of thousands of people for very cheap in the transaction data. But there was nothing in any of this transaction data. I looked myself. So the second layer would be to try to back engineer the clients that you think it is who have these wallets and the relationship to other wallets. To possibly try to extort people. That's one area. But the most likely, again, seems to be coming from this idea of the FinCEN regulations, and I believe I'm saying this correctly. I believe it's FinCEN. So everyone else knows, please let me know because I just there's so much data that moves nowadays. Is that they've flagged particular addresses. So mixing or tumbling bitcoins is not allowed. If you receive bitcoins from any of these known tumblers, your accounts can be flagged, and they can try to come at you with anti-money laundering laws and all this other stuff. So it's quite dangerous. So it could be that right now what we're seeing is an attempt to probe an attack vector by using a mixer that sends tainted tokens to absolutely every wallet that exists on the chain to try to ruin and obfuscate those laws. And that's what my best guess is. Again, that's just total conjecture, but the most valuable reason I can see, because either of these types of spam seems very difficult. Like extortion is not an easy game. No, I mean, not not that any game, not that any game is particularly easy, but if you were trying to think about how you could bring out more money, there's likely a much higher level of criminality that's looking to ruin it. And if it's not criminal, again, it's just that interesting layer of the rules and regulation. Can you wreck the rules and the regulation? So even if it's not criminal behavior, it's looking at trying to obfuscate is the best word I keep coming across here, the current rules and regulations that are in place right now. So that's definitely a question for someone that's much smarter than I about the rules and regulations, because I don't know anything about them necessarily, but I can obviously create conjecture. Although, so we all can. Look how blue I look right now. I'm glowing like an avatar here. I'm gonna flip this around so we have the right orange light or something. There we go. A mixer is a tumbler. It's used to break up a Bitcoin transaction and send it to multiple other addresses, so you don't really know where the primary target and or leads were. So it's a headache for regulators. Yes, very, very serious headache for regulators if all of a sudden every Bitcoin wallet became tainted. Or in this case, I think they're attempting the attack vector due to Litecoin's price and maybe even speed as well. So it's again what they can do here. So I'll use an example. It's very likely, and I agree with this idea that the reason Facebook floated their white paper with no real technology basis was just to see how much flack they got from the regulators, and also to probably put a stifle on Amazon's movement to work in that space as well, that basically they're trying to get the regulators to stop it from going. So this could be one of those flags that they're sending up to see what they can pull off in a much cheaper rendition. Again, to pull it off on Litecoin would at least prove your point in a court of law if needed to be the case. Again, I don't know what's going on here. Oh, go on Mixer instead of Twitch. Yeah, we will try Mixer. Actually, some of you guys have noticed that. I did sign up for Mixer the other day, but not a Tumblr. Oh God, see, all these terms overlap now. You've got Tumblr and you've got mixers, and I used to DJ with a mixer. This terminology is way too difficult. Did Raven? Okay, Raven has nothing to do with this right now. Wait. Actually, I did say I would answer your guys' questions. Did Raven bottom out? Again, that's if you want to join our private bear den notes where we go over some of the tokens like Raven extensively, you can join it by going to arcanebear.com/club. We charge $30 a month for our private newsletter. We've got a great community of people that help out there as well. But other than that, I'm not going to talk about Raven's particular low or highs right now. Twitch sucks. Go to a decentralized platform. Everything is decentralized in my, or at least 750 of you, or 750, 75 of you. God, I miss the days of 750 live audience members, but I'm very grateful. But the point of this is the fact that we can do this at all has actually decentralized the power, because now I can be a small little media hub and we can have these conversations live right now. So decentralization as a concept is actually a very, very broad term that most people overlook, and it's almost at a point where the infrastructure of mechanical creation is decentralization, because it makes things cheaper. So now that you can have a high level of comfort that only few could enjoy back in the day. I mean, I have a phone, I can go live, I can walk around, I'm going streaming to thousands, or like we'll end up going to thousands of people over the course of a little bit. It's fascinating technology, but this is, decentralization is not just in the technology, it's actually in everything that we're doing to date. Okay, do regulators view LTC the same as Bitcoin? Yes, they do. It was a fair launch token, and is considered a decentralized coin. Can this dusting be done with other tokens in coins? Yes, it can. I don't know, again, to what degree it's important. Well, yes, dusting could be spam, but I think, again, here the attack vector is actually on the rules and regulations behind anti-money laundering laws. And again, it's just conjecture. A lawyer would know much better about where I'm actually aiming here. It would not be a stress test at these small microtransactions that makes very that's the blocks. Well, maybe sure it's a stress test, but that doesn't make any sense. They could just do that on um, a test net. If you Why not just run it on a test net? Um, um, FinCEN, yeah. Cool, great. We'll leave it at that. I really appreciate this. So it says, if you open your Trezor, never open your Trezor wallet, can you be dusted? Yes. You never actually have to share your wallet address. They can find it on the blockchain explorers with any wallet that's ever received Litecoin or other cryptocurrencies. So regardless if you've never opened it, never turned it on or anything, if it's ever received cryptocurrencies, they could look at it, find it, and then send it to you because your address is on the public blockchain. This sounds like FUD. It's not. It's a very real and interesting attack vector. Although again, trying to understand the attack vector has nothing really to do with the price of Litecoin. I think again, if we look at what the most likely aim would be, it would be from a regulatory standpoint. Again, because there was no transaction ID, there was no like, hey, follow mixer on mix, and the transaction ID, which you could be like, oh, maybe they trying to send everyone a spam message, but no one looks in the blockchain for transaction messages normally. Anyways, most people would never notice a small amount, so that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so FinCEN is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Thank you for helping clarify that particular anagram that we were breaking apart there, because again, the point of this, I think, as an attack vector is to try to taint every account to potentially obfuscate the laws that are currently in place through FinCEN and anti-money laundering laws for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And even if they're not doing it to actually try, they could float that as a flag to bring it into a court of law in front of the regulators and use it as a precedence or an example. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait to find out more information as people who are much smarter than me in the technical world try to break apart, and follow along all the wallets and the addresses and stuff like this. I don't have anywhere near enough expertise to do that. All I could do is look and find out that there was thousands and thousands and thousands of these microtransactions that had been made. I don't think it would be a three-letter agency. It seemed who knows? I wouldn't speculate as to who and or why they're doing it quite yet. Although again, the aim at that particular regulatory standpoint makes the most sense. Opening your hardware wallet won't make any difference. Again, the attack vector isn't on the chain itself. It's on likely a regulatory aspect or a spam or extortion layer. Although the spam and extortion layer just doesn't make much sense. It doesn't fit the bill. Again, that's why I think the most probable one is likely the most valuable one, which is, could you set precedents that if you send tainted coins to every wallet address when you're trying to do something illegal, could you hide your illegal activities and then make every wallet address in the process, by definition and regulatory standards, illegal? So that could ruin the value of the network only if the regulators didn't keep up with that. Although if they would have to amend their laws, so again, it could be a practice and a vector point to bring into court or to bring into the regulatory standpoint and say, okay, well, look what happened with Litecoin, FinCEN. How do we adjust for these dusting attacks where they send small amounts or small currencies to and taint every wallet? And this is a really interesting topic, I think, in general. We'll try to get a lawyer on the show for this one about tainted tokens and the FinCEN regulations, etc., as well. Could dusting render regulating cryptos obsolete? I see. This is where I think the most fascinating part of this conversation comes in. And it's not FUD. It's just, what does that mean for regulation? Like, there is nothing I could do about the fact that they sent me a small amount of Litecoin. So if they sent me a small amount of Litecoin, are my wallets all now tainted? And what would I have to go through to try to get out of the hooks and claws of like financial anti-money laundering laws simply because I got some microtransaction under like a trillionth of a penny or something ridiculous? It doesn't make any sense. It will make Litecoin traffic jam. No, it seems to be. It's not the point. Um, the test net, it's handling it fine. You wouldn't even notice it, and they would probably have put the lowest possible transaction price because they're sending tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of transactions, it looked like. Okay, awesome. Well, we'll jump off there for now. Again, I thank you. I appreciate your time. Um, it's been a lot of fun. I don't want to go too long here. The jungle internet, I guess you guys are saying it's breaking up a little bit. Um, we'll go from there. Again, do more research into what dusting is. As I'm sure over the next 24 hours, every major news source is going to produce content about this particular event. And we're going to hear a lot of conjecture around it. I'm staking my flag in the ground about this being a regulatory precedence. And if not done on purpose, it's being done criminally. So do be aware of it. In case you have any other weird emails or transactions that come in and out, just to pay attention to your Litecoin wallets. Or on the plus side, it's a really interesting experiment and thought experiment in the legal and regulatory standpoints. But because it's borderline criminal, it's good to keep an eye on everything. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. If you like this content, give us the thumbs up. If you don't, give us the thumbs down. We will see you guys probably again really soon. Ciao.